All right, thank you. UP Los Baños is ready. Dr. Rowena Bangcongis and Dr. Ana Kimbo.
Good afternoon from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. This is a question from one of the faculty of the College of Public Affairs. It appears that educational reforms have not invigorated our educational system, as it has failed to take into account philosophical, cultural, and institutional uniqueness of our country. Given the scenario that reforms don't transform and the financial crisis that compounds these problems, shouldn't we instead let the private sector lead in certain levels so that government can focus its resources and energy on specific levels and specific curricular offerings only?
No, I think it's all, we have to qualify that education reforms we qualify your premise that education reforms have not actually invigorated on the ground, invigorated education on the ground. While we're talking about reforms that don't transform, there have been reforms that transform. When we reviewed the different reform outcomes, they were all very positive outcomes. The problem is, it's a project-to-project thing. The project is just about to end, and the people who are thinking of what project will come next will think more of the next project than how to sustain the reforms. And when we were saying that the school-based management under the BEAM and the TEP have really produced remarkable outcomes. Think of teachers who were just thinking of getting better national achievement tests. At first, it was just that. And we were reacting because they are just thinking of tests and they're just testing. But eventually, we said, let's stop reacting. Because once they think in terms of standards, once they're able to make it according to the standards that are prescribed, then they're open up. Then we've made it already now. We think that this is no longer a good system. We think we're just doing things so that we will get the national achievement test scores. Let us now think more critically. And we have seen teachers on the ground doing that. So there is reinvigoration on the ground. And teachers, I think, have been doing it on the ground in areas where such reforms have taken not roots, but have affected these areas. The problem is they don't take root, because even the people who are part of the reform are now made to think of another project or to have a different word for the kind of thing that they were doing before. As each administration changes, you will move to the pet project of the next administration. So it has reinvigorated in areas where reform was actually implemented, but not enough and not sustained because they are not linked to a bigger reform agenda and they're not orchestrated. Now, as the private sector, we welcome the private sector, but the private sector cannot lead education reform in this country because the private sector would have its own interests. And it is very good that their corporate social responsibility makes them work with education, and that is a welcome thing. But they should not lead. It is still DepEd that should be leading for basic education, SHED for higher education, but we're also calling for we're not calling for them to come together because that's exactly the problem in the beginning. We're calling for we have a more integrated system. That's why we're calling for BESRA that is wider than just basic ed, that includes higher education.
All right, thank you. We have a question from UP in Miagao. Please come in.
This is Senator Kwan, UP Visayas. We have a question here from Mel Sichon, the librarian. With the assumption that grade school pupils learn faster in their first language, to what extent does the UP Integrated School use the pupils' first language in their classes? Can the UPIS be replicated in the other campuses?
There was a time that UPIS used the Filipino as medium of instruction from kindergarten to fourth year high school, and English was a subject Prior to that, it was the implementation of the bilingual education policy, and then now again, it is the implementation. It's the same. It's halving the curriculum into Filipino and English, just the way that most schools are organized. Why did UPIS not continue with it? Because UPIS does not exist just to test these experiments or to test these hypotheses. It also has its own stakeholders, such as alumni and parents, and the larger UP community that always threatens its existence when its population does not pass the UPCAT. But one of the things that actually makes UPIS important is when you're able to investigate these. However, you cannot investigate multilingualism. Bilingualism, yes, but not multilingualism, because the population is from this village, and this village is only bilingual. The thing is, when all these forces put pressure on the curriculum, what happens is that the curriculum will change according to the winds of time. So if the threat at present is that we will abolish you because your students are not passing the UPCAT anyway, then they will shift back so that when they take the English language tests of the UPCAT, they will pass. So does UPIS continue to practice it? No. Did it send it down to the other high schools, and there are no elementary schools in the other UP units? No. Did it send it down to the other high schools or the community? I don't think so. However, the materials that were developed by the teachers for all the subject areas, I think they're all over. They're being used everywhere else. There are people from UPIS in the audience. They might know better.
All right. Next question is from UP Manila, Dr. Nimia Simbulan.
Okay. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Nina Simbulan from UP Manila. Question is, language policy of Department of Education is undoubtedly tied up to the government's labor export policy that is part of its program of making Filipino workers globally competitive. Please comment.
What does it mean to be globally competitive? Does it mean you know how to speak English? That's something that we need to really reckon with, no? Because as we were saying earlier, what it would mean to be competitive is to acquire higher level competencies, and the process of developing those higher level competencies would need to be scaffolded on certain minimum basic literacy competencies which are best developed in the child's own language. So even if you buy into that long-term agenda, the solution that is being proposed seems to be rather simplistic. As Dina mentioned earlier, the processes of education are actually conditional. And thus, if we want our students to develop higher level competencies, we need to reckon with the question of language not as a language that needs to be learned, but the language that is in which they will learn. So this is different from the languages that have to be learned, and the issue is in what languages will they acquire these competencies?
Yes, please. Sorry, one last question.
Thank you guys for making my trip worthwhile. My question is, this country is replete with reform movements. Electoral reform, agrarian reform, reform of the armed forces, agricultural reform, population reform, social reform, and as Karina David says on TV, we need drastic reforms in civil service. So what makes you believe that reforms in education should transform when all the other reforms have not?
Maybe the answer, ma'am, is we have no choice. I mean, we have no choice but to just make it transform. can you imagine that we're behind Laos and Cambodia when we used to think that we're even better than Vietnam, and now we're behind them along certain indicators? Can you imagine the Philippines behind Malaysia and Indonesia when we were among those? I think Amando Duranila is here, and in his book he was saying that we were very active in bringing together the Mafilindo so that we will have a Malay sub-area. They've all left us behind. And what we are arguing in our lecture is they have left us behind because we have also not made our citizens think properly. We have students, we graduate, but they are not really thinking critically. They're not transformative citizens. And the reason for that partly is because we did not teach them how to think. We're forced them to think in alien languages when they were young. That's the reason why we put the language thing here. We could have talked about education without language and talked about all other problems of education, but we thought we have to talk about learning because many of those in the education reform process just assume that it will happen. So we're saying you cannot assume that it will happen. We will have to look at it more closely. We have to make our pupils learn first in their mother tongues. And then they will learn how to think because they are using their mother tongues. And you can teach as many languages as you want to teach, and they have the foundation. So the foundation is in the first few years. So I think, Ma'am, why are we also hopeful? Because we've seen change on the ground. What makes us depressed is when those changes are not sustained, when people go back to old ways of doing things. Some projects have actually changed the management culture. People now report, they're accountable for not just the achievement, but for performance. But going back to the old culture after a project ends, it's really a problem. And that's the reason why we also said project mentality is a problem in this country. It's not just DepEd, it's almost all of us. Maybe even UP, maybe we also have that mentality. We go from project to project, and we always reinvent the wheel. So the answer, Ma'am, is no choice. There is no choice but for us to have faith and for us to mobilize people of different ideological persuasions to come together.
Okay, because of public clamor, we are entertaining one last question. Yes, sir.